So welcome back, this is guide number 4. I wanted to talk about backpacks and how do you pick your backpack. Now, there's a lot of things to consider with backpacks, same as in the guide about tents. There's a vast selection of backpacks that you can go for these days. Fundamentally, they fall into one of two categories, and that would be frameless and framed. Now, a frameless backpack, it saves weight by not having a built-in frame that supports the back of the pack. The downside for me for frameless packs is they're pretty much, in my opinion, they're designed more for ultralight packing. So if you have a fairly heavy load, it puts a lot more stress through your shoulders, I find. So I'm not a big fan of frameless packs. I prefer to go for the framed packs because I find there's a lot more support there, especially if you've got a bigger pack base weight and your all-in weight rather. So you're carrying a lot more stuff. It's bulkier and it's not going to impact the back shape when you've got a frame. So once you've decided whether you're going to go for frameless or framed, the next stage really is to look for how much space does your gear take up, because I've seen a few posts recently where people are asking what size backpack should I use for the Fjällräven in Sweden. Nobody can really answer that question for you unless they know exactly what you're planning on taking, because that essentially decides what size pack you need. If someone says, 45, 50 litres, plenty, for them it may well be, but if your gear that you're carrying is quite bulky, that might not be enough. So you need to figure out how much space your gear is going to take up. One way you can do it, one of my friends, the way he does it is he's got a rubble sack, big black plastic bag, essentially heavy duty one, and he knows how many litres that contains. So he'll put his gear into there, roll the top down, mark it off, and then see how much of that bag is occupied, and that gives him a rough idea of how many litres he's taken up. That will give him then an idea of what size pack if he's going to get a new pack. Now, once you've done it a few times, you get to know what will fit in what. But at the same time, it's worth bearing in mind that not all packs are created equally. So, for example, this is a 45 litre Montane pack. It's not a huge pack. You know, I can just about squeeze my summer gear in here, but it's a tight fit. My winter gear, not even close. This is not the most comfortable of packs. It's got adjustable back height for the straps and things like that. But to be honest with you, it's a bit too. It's kind of a no man's land pack because it's a bit too big for a day hike, but then it's a bit too small for a hike with a camp, especially a multi-day. So that's I've had that pack for years, and it's kind of a nothing pack. But then by the same token, this is a mammoth pack, which is apparently 28 litres, 28 to 35, and this thing is absolutely enormous. I mean, it's absolutely huge. I can fit all of my stuff in here very comfortably. And that's supposed to be a 28 to 35 litre. That is bigger than that 45 litre Montane. So this is what I mean about all packs are not created equally. Some manufacturers are very generous with their sizing, some not so much. And they all use different methods for calculating the literage of their packs. I know Decathlon, when they do theirs, they basically make a pack, fill it with polystyrene balls, and then they measure the volume of those polystyrene balls, and that gives them their literage. And there's different ways of doing it, but they all do it slightly different ways. So consequently, because they use different methods, their guidelines of the literage can be very different from brand to brand. So let's say you're going to use, we'll say a 60 litre, which is broadly sort of average size for a multi-day. You then need to figure out which one fits. Now, I'll post a link to a video by a Dutch guy, Outdoor Guru I think he's called, where he explains how to measure yourself for a backpack and how to fit a backpack, and it's a really good video. It's what I used when I first started sort of looking at different backpacks and things. His channel's actually really good. If you want to take a look at that, he does reviews of a lot of stuff, and he does it in a very sort of methodical way. Like he's got a system of doing reviews on stoves, like gas stoves, where he'll heat them up in a certain size pot with a certain amount of water that starts at a certain temperature with a certain type of gas, and then he'll repeat that with different pots, different gas, things like that, and it gives you the timings for how long it takes to boil a litre, how much fuels you use, things like that. So it's a pretty like detailed reviews. He's also got a video that shows you how to pack your backpack, which is really good as well. Anyway, back to this. So once you've decided what size pack you think you're going to need, measure yourself to get a pack fitted. Now, if you go to a good outdoor store and they've got the packs on display, they will often have weighted bags that you can put in the pack, because it's important to try a pack weighted. You can put a pack on that's empty and it feels great. As soon as you put some weight in it, it's pulling in all the wrong places. So it's no good just trying one without weight in it. And you want to be putting in roughly the kind of weight you're going to be using or you're going to be carrying on the trek, because that'll give you the closest idea of what it's going to feel like. Now, how you pack the pack will impact on how the weight is distributed, and that will affect how it feels on your back and things like that. So you're not going to get it perfect unless you actually pack it with exactly what you're going to take, but you can get a really good idea. Now, among the framed packs, there's any amount of variation in terms of the weight of the pack itself, because that's something you also need to consider when you're looking at your pack weight. The stuff that's going in your bag may weigh all in, we'll say 13 kilos, for example. If you were to use something like this, the Fjällräven Classic 65, which is an absolute beast of a pack, it's a great pack, don't get me wrong. That pack weighs 3 kilograms on its own with nothing in it. So straight away you're up to 16 kilograms because of the pack weight. Now, I use this. I won't use this for the Fjällräven in Sweden, because for me it's too heavy for that type of thing. And to be honest, it would be half full, because my gear pack's quite small. So that is overkill realistically for Sweden. What I do use that for is winter camps, where my gear is bigger, bulkier, heavier. And the reason for that is, even though my gear is heavier, and this is then heavier again, the reason I use this on winter camps is because the back system on this is super comfortable. It's like sitting into your favourite armchair. So because the back system is so comfortable and it distributes the load so well, it doesn't feel as heavy as it is. I mean, you still feel it in your legs when you're going up a hill, but on your back and your hips and things like that, it doesn't feel as bad, because it's so well built and so comfortable. So that's that one. And now that's a 65 litre. Now, you can go the ultralight route. Ultralight packs, some of them you can get down as far as like 600 grams now, maybe even 500. Depends again on the size. This is an Atom Packs Prospector. It used to be called a Moore. It was called a Moore when I got it. This is a framed pack. It doesn't look like it's got a frame because the frame's inside, but it's a framed pack, and this weighs like 950 grams. Now, I've added a couple of bits like hip pockets and stuff, so it's probably just over a kilo. So it's a third of the weight of the Fjällräven. It's 5 litres smaller, but it's enormous, because what you'll find with most of your ultralight packs is they tend to be very big. I mean, I don't know if you can see there, it's the whole thing, it's huge. What you'll find with the ultralight packs is they tend to be one big tube and very little else on it. So this has got tiny little shoulder strap pockets. They're alright for putting a chocolate bar in or something like that, but not much else. I've actually got the Fjällräven Nabisco bottle pocket on here, because I quite like that bottle pocket. And that just gives us extra options, because ordinarily with this you don't get a bottle pocket, you don't get side pockets. You literally got your main body, and you have 2 big side pockets for like water bottles or whatever, and then you have this huge mesh back pocket. So yes, it's a 60 litre, but with these extra pockets, that takes it up to, I think it's 72 litres. So it's actually a huge backpack for very little weight. It's also exceptionally comfortable for what it is. But now I know some people who have used like 20 kilos, they've carried 20 kilos in one of these. Beatrice, who I met on the Classic last year, she carried not only her own stuff and food, she carried a bunch of stuff for a son as well, young son. So her pack load was like near enough 20 kilos or just over 20 kilos, I can't remember exactly. And she says this coped admirably. She was more than happy with it. She's just recently done the TGO Challenge in Scotland, which is like 2 weeks, 300 odd kilometres, coast to coast in Scotland. And she used our Atom packs. Hers is different colours because you can customise these. And I don't know what our pack weight was for that one, but I imagine it was still a substantial pack weight because it was 2 weeks and going through pretty remote areas as well. So congratulations to Bea for completing that as well, by the way. So these are a great option. They are expensive though. You can buy one off the shelf from Atom Packs for, I think it's about £300 or £320. A custom made one like this, where you pick all the different colours and you can pick either that's mesh or it's material like this. You get to pick what size hip belt, how you send measurements and get it made to measure the length of your back, things like that. I think I paid something like £360 for this. My family actually bought it for my 50th birthday, so I didn't pay a penny. But so I mean, that's a great pack. I'm not using that in Sweden either. I was thinking about it, but essentially what I'm doing is this Mammoth pack, same sort of style. It's got the roll top, it's got a big back pocket, and it's got 2 side pockets, pretty much similar to that. The difference with this one is it has in my opinion, a more comfortable frame system. The shoulder straps are very comfortable, but the frame system has this cool, it's a Mammoth Duke Garn spine it's called, and has this really cool movement system. So the whole pack can move with your body, and that actually makes a huge difference. I was surprised at how different that makes a pack feel. So if you're leaning to the sides and things like that, reaching down, the pack moves with you. Very clever design, to be fair. Now this one, as I say, is a 28 to 35. I think it's got something like a 12 kilogram to 15 kilogram capacity, but I could be wrong. So I've got a bigger one coming, hopefully this weekend, which I'll get and try out. Same back system, but a bigger capacity and a bigger load. Load capacity as well, I guess. So yeah, that's another option. Now the thing is, once you've decided how much space you need, and then you've picked the right size pack for you, you're then looking at features. So what features do you want? Now things like the ultralight, like the Atom packs and the Mammoth one I've just shown you, they are one compartment with the 3 pockets on. Something like the Kaika has a bottom compartment and a main compartment. It also has zipped access, so you can get into the main compartment from the back. You don't have to go in the top. With those two, you've got to go in from the top. It's your only option. Well, sorry, actually the Mammoth has a zipped compartment, so you can get into the bottom of the pack there, so that's handy. With the Atom packs, you can't do that. Most packs these days as well will either have the fastenings on the bottom, which you can attach bungee to, or they will have bungee or fastenings on the bottom, so you can strap something to the bottom of the pack. A lot of them that have a lid will also have this on the top, on the lid, so you can put more stuff on top of there. The Kaika, it has 2 big side pockets here, zipped side pockets, and it also has 2 bottle pockets on the bottom. It has pretty substantial hip belt pockets as well, and it has obviously your side cinch straps, so you can tighten the pack in, and it also has other attachments for fitting on things like ice axes, walking poles and such like. So that's I mean, to be honest, the kite has pretty much got every adaptation you could think of to put on a pack, if I'm 100% honest about it. And it's very adjustable. You can adjust the shoulder straps out and in, up and down. You know, the hip belt can be adjusted in or out, making it bigger or smaller. There's a lot of different adjustment on this as well. So that you will see a lot of these in Sweden and other Fjällräven packs as well. Definitely, like the Abispos and things like that. You'll see a lot of them. You will probably see a few Atom packs as well. Now, I mean, these do have the side cinching straps. They also have the attachments for walking poles through here into there. And the other thing with the Atom packs as well, when the top is rolled down, it has this Y strap on the top, so you can actually strap something into there, you know, maybe a roll mat or your tent or something like that if you want to keep it outside the pack. So, you know, it still does have a bunch of features for a very little weight. Now, the thing is, as I say, a lot of your frameless packs and a lot of your smaller literage packs have a lower load capacity. So once you know what the weight of your gear is, then that helps you to decide again what pack, because you may have an eye on a pack and think, oh, it weighs like 1 kilogram. Great, it's the right size literage. But then when you look at your gear, including your food and water and clothes and all that kind of stuff, you're coming in at, I don't know, 13 kilos just for your gear. And the pack, they don't recommend you going above 12. Now, would it fall apart? Probably not. You'd probably be all right. But I would question whether the comfort would still be there, because it's not designed to hold that capacity. And this is the reason why there's so many different packs. You know, I mean, Osprey are a popular backpack brand. I'm not a fan of Ospreys. That's just me personally. Juta are another good one. I've got a couple of Juta packs and I do really like them, the Air Contact Core packs. Now, for something the size of the Kaika, it's about 700 grams less, so it, you know, it's lighter and it basically has all the same features on. What I will say though is the material it's made from is probably less durable than the Fjällräven one, but still a great pack. So for me, pack size, load capacity, and really the fit, you know, the right size. How comfortable is it going to be? Because ultimately you're wearing it on your back for, you know, numerous hours every day for multiple days. So you want something that's going to be comfortable. You don't want it cutting in here. You don't want it cutting in at your waist. You don't want the back rubbing somewhere. So you've really got to consider all of these things when you're deciding on the backpack. So like I said, nothing really beats going into a shop, a good shop, where the people there probably have a bit more knowledge about the backpacks as well, and they can help you to decide. Now, more expensive doesn't necessarily mean better. Of these packs, the Fjällräven's the most expensive pack I own. I think that was around the €400 mark, something like that, 420. Then comes the Atom pack, which was, as I say, about £360, which is probably about €400. So it's not a lot cheaper than the Fjällräven, but a little bit. The Juta ones I have were quite a bit cheaper. The Air Contact Core, I've got a 7010, which was, I think, £180, and the 6010 I have was about £170. This Mammoth is something in the region of, I'm going to say, about £130. Sorry I'm saying it in pounds, but the pound and the euro, they move up and down like every day. So the bigger one that I've got coming for the Mammoth pack, that amazingly it actually changed price while I was looking at it. So when I first logged onto the site, it was like €200, I think, and then I went to look at something else, came back to the site, and it dropped to like €180 or something. So shop around. There's plenty of sites out there these days, and you will find, once you've found a pack and you think that's the one, the right size, the right load limit, it's comfortable, I've tried it, it fits everything. Don't just buy the one you see, because that pack will be the same from anywhere. So, You know, you find somewhere that's selling it for €200, you may then find it somewhere else that's selling it for 160. Why pay €200? You know, and this is the good thing of the internet now, is shopping around. Now, Atom Packs, I will say though, they're based in the UK, in Cumbria. So if you were to buy from them, you're going to have VAT and import duty to pay on that. The other ones, pretty much you can get Europe, UK, pretty much anywhere, to be honest with you. Because they do sell everywhere. Now, once you've done all that and you've got your pack, the next best tip I can give you is get out there with gear in it, you know, loaded, and hike with it. That you're going to get used to it. You can play about with the adjustment on the size, so you've got it fitted, you know, you've really nailed the fit, so it's perfect for what you want and how you like to carry it. And like I say, use it, because something that doesn't get talked about very often, and I think it probably should, you can go and hike 10 miles a day every day in the boots that you're wearing or the shoes, and I'll talk about them in another video. And your feet are fine, everything's fine. As soon as you put a backpack on with weight in it, it's amazing how much different your feet feel, even with the same boots, because you've got more impact every time your foot hits the floor. So there's more shock through your legs, things like that. I've seen people who've never had a blister. They've hiked for years, always day hikes with a small pack, things like that. As soon as they do a multi-day hike, blister city. And it's because their feet and their body are not used to carrying that extra weight. So there's more shock going through your feet. Your feet are more likely to move in the boot, which creates friction and then blisters. So that's something to consider. I probably should do another video just on preparation for the trek and include things about that. Because it's, to be honest, in the world of long distance treks and multi-day treks, the Classic in Sweden is not the hardest one out there, not by a long chalk. Okay, it's a nice trek if you take your time and enjoy the scenery, enjoy your surroundings. It's a nice trek. Yes, there's tough parts, there's bits that'll tire you out, and there's ascents and descents. And for me personally, descents are worse than ascents because my knees ain't the best. So coming down, it really plays on my knees. Going up, not so much. But you need to sort of understand how carrying weight impacts that. If it's not something you've done before, if you've been doing this kind of thing for a long time, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and this isn't really relevant to you. But for anybody new, it makes a difference. And getting the fit right, getting it so after 10 kilometers, it still feels as comfortable as it did in the first kilometer, that can take a little bit of tuning in. So really you need to practice with it. Not a lot else to say about the packs really. As I say, it's one of those things. A pack is a very personal thing. What you like, nobody else might like, or there might be a bunch of people like it and you don't like it. Same as with the tent. It's find what's going to work for you. If you haven't looked at a pack yet, bear in mind we're only 10 weeks out now, and it can take a little while to figure all this stuff out, to buy a pack. And if you're buying online, you've got to wait for it to be shipped, and so you might be down to like 6 weeks. That's not a lot of time to get used to a pack and train with it, practice with it, because you also need to figure out as well, this is another stage, which will be another video on it, how to pack your pack, because it's not just a simple case of just shove everything in and off you go. I mean, you can do that, you know, but there's sort of certain principles, if you like, for how to pack a pack to make the pack feel lighter and more stable on your back. And they do make a lot of sense, and they do work, these principles. So that's something to consider as well, learning how to pack your pack. So as with anything else, I did a video on tents and I said practice, practice, practice. Don't practice till you get it right, practice till you can't get it wrong. And the same thing with packs, because if there's an emergency and you need to get at something in your pack, if you've packed it and unpacked it, packed it and unpacked it, and you've got used to where everything is, you're going to save time. And if it's emergency, time's important. So you can get at what you really need straight away. You're not hunting around, rooting around, because I've seen people hunting around for something in their backpack and they've gone through everything 2 or 3 times before they realise it was in the side pocket. You know, they've gone through the centre of it. It was in with this, it was in with this, and it's not. It's in some side pocket because they just put it in there. Like, for some reason, it's not where they usually put it, but they did. It happens. So, like I say, practice, practice, practice. But as I always say on the videos, there's any amount of people in the group that I'd be more than happy to help and give advice. Over on the Fjällräven Classic official page, again, tons of people who will give you advice on backpacks and on anything realistically, and they're a helpful bunch. So ask questions. But as I said in the last video or the one before, asking the question, what's the best backpack, is not the best question. Asking, how big backpack do I need? Not a great question, because we don't know how big your gear is. You know, your sleeping bag could pack down this size. Your tent could be this size. But then somebody else could be using, I don't know, a Durson tent, which packs down this size. They could be using a quilt, a down quilt, which packs down the size of a grapefruit. So 2 items at this size is equal to 1 item at this size. And if you've got 2 at this size, you're going to need a lot more litres. So that has to be taken into consideration, not just a case of saying this is the right size for that trek. It doesn't work like that. So that's pretty much all I've got to say about backpacks and how to pick them. You could go on all day about these things because there's so many other features and factors to consider. Something else to mention on backpacks is if you're looking for something more budget, Decathlon is a great place to look, I'll be honest with you, because their backpacks, they do some really lightweight ones, all the way up to the really heavier ones. I've got a 4-class 90-10. There's no way it's a 90-10. It's probably more like a 60-10 or a 70-10. But it's a cracking backpack. Very heavy duty, like the Fjällräven Kiker. Probably, I think it's about 2.8 kilos in weight. And it's got every feature on that all the other ones do. And I think that was about £130. So there's a bunch of backpacks you can get from Decathlon that are a lot cheaper. And to be fair to Decathlon, I will say the back system that they use, so the straps and the belt and the vented backs and things, are some of the most comfortable back systems I think I've ever used. You know, I used a 4-class, I think it was an MH900 ultralight last year on the Sweden Classic. That weighs something like 1.3 kilograms. A little bit smaller than I would like, but it did the job. It fit everything in, bit of a squeeze, but it got everything in. The back system, I know for the Decathlon ones, is really comfortable, not an expensive backpack. I just wanted to try it out in a multi-day, and it did a great job. Can't complain about it, to be honest with you. And that's at the budget end. I mean, you can go even cheaper. I know, I think it's Go Outdoors if you're in the UK. They do, is it a Euro hike? Sherpa or something like that, and it's like £30. You know, I've tried one and I didn't find it very comfortable at all. It's a big bugger, like you can fit all kinds in it, but comfort wise, not for me. But that's not to say it won't work for someone else. I'm sure plenty of people use them and are more than happy with them, and that's great. So you can go like super cheap all the way up to like crazy expensive, and everywhere in between, just like you can with every other feature. So that's backpacks. There was something else I was going to say about backpacks. Oh yeah, that's it. Right. So a lot of people work on the principle that if I can fit my gear in, that's the right size. Great. I'm not arguing with that at all. If you can fit everything into a 45 litre and you're happy with that, fill your boots. My personal preference is to carry a backpack bigger than what I need, because you can always cinch it down and make it smaller. Okay. If you have a backpack, and the reason I do this is it's a personal preference thing, but my rationale for doing this is that if I've packed everything in and I've packed it in, you know, like say this 45 litre job, and it's literally drum tight, like I'm squeezing it in, I can't get anything else in there, that's fine. But let's say I've pitched up my tent, I've got all my gear out, I've had me evening meal, whatever, and then the weather turns horrendous and I need to bail. I need to get out of there, pack the tent up and move somewhere that's sheltered, or, you know, it's really dangerous to stay where I am, for example. Not really likely to happen, but it could. And I always think you better to consider these things than not. If I need to pack everything away super quick, I don't want a backpack where I've got to pack it meticulously in a certain way to fit everything in. And if it's drum tight when you've packed it, you kind of have to do that, because if you pack things differently, often it won't all fit. So my rationale is I'll carry a pack that's slightly bigger than I need. And that way, if I need to bail quickly, I can literally just cram everything in, because I ain't going to be bothered about how it's loaded. I just want it all loaded. Cram everything in. I know there's room for everything. Doesn't matter how I pack it. Get it in there, get it on my back and get walking. That's my rationale. Now, not everyone subscribes to that, and that's fine. Now, I'm not saying my way is right. All I'm saying is that's the way I look at it. So if I can fit my gear into 45 litres, the minimum size pack I'm carrying is a 55 litre. Because with them side straps that you've got, you can cinch it tighter. So you bring the pack in against the front, so you remove space. With something like this one, you can roll the top down further and cut the space down. So that's my personal preference, is bigger pack than I need, shrink the room, and it's still fine. Now, I'll talk about this in the pack and your backpack one. I'll mention that. But anyway, that's pretty much everything I've got to say about backpacks. It's kind of took 31 minutes, and I didn't think I had that much to say. But again, if there's any more information people want, any more advice people want, if it's like, where can I get this type of pack? Does anybody knows, what is this one got an adjustable back and things like that? Because sometimes on the websites they don't tell you all the information you might need or want. So sometimes it's worth asking the question if somebody's already got one that can give you more information about that particular pack. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So you can get light ones, you can get heavier ones, you can get them with all the bells and whistles, you can get them pared down to the very basics, you get frameless, framed, you get them with the extra pockets, all kinds. And ultimately it boils down to, what do you want? What fits your gear? Will it carry the load you want? Is it comfortable on your back? And I suppose other things is like, has it got all the bells and whistles you want? Is it the colours you want? Because I mean, Christ, that's the colours I've got on my Atom pack: blue, black, yellow, red. Beatrice, who I mentioned earlier, hers is like pink, purple, black, totally different colour scheme. And they've got other pinks and stuff now, so you can really make it your own. And what else do you want? Personal preference again. So that's everything about packs. I'll stop it there, because otherwise it's getting ridiculously long. And hopefully it's been helpful. For those who do this regularly, as I've said before, it probably isn't. You probably already know. But for those who haven't got a pack or are just looking at getting a pack, hopefully it's been helpful and gives you a bit of an idea of the type of things to be looking for and how to go about it. That's the intention. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you with the next one, which will probably be about boots, I imagine.